I know you can't, well, maybe you can describe it. Can you think back to the first time you did that, or just what the experience of playing a solo gig is like versus a band gig?
So that's a really interesting question, because when I started to do it, I was determined to use it as a way to kind of work on my performance chops, my singing and playing chops. And so to me, it was, I wasn't good enough at it yet to actually shape the environment. It was all about like almost like an exercise for me.
Making it through, checking boxes.
Yeah. And, working on my stuff, I guess. But, now having done it for quite a while, it's fun because it really feels like an expression of art. I play whatever songs I want. I read the room and, or take a request or don't take a request as it suits the show. I think I've shared, like, my approach to it is I like to mix a lot of different guitar styles when I play. Some of it is campfire strumming. Some of it is intricate finger picking stuff. Some of it is kind of hybrid. Some of it is rock and roll. And it's just fun to kind of craft a narrative over the course of a show and to try and go over. And that's really the fun of it. I don't sweat if I don't go over.
Okay.
Like at a restaurant gig, people aren't there to listen to you. So can I get people's attention? And if someone comes up afterwards, I really enjoyed that, and they picked out some nuance of something that I did, that's really rewarding to me. And then, like I talk about my coffee house gigs where it's a whole room facing me. I used to do those solo.
Yeah.
And now I always carve out, even when I play with my small groups, I always have a little time where I do anywhere from 3 songs to a half hour of solo material as well, I just love to do it so much. But
interesting.
It's been a great journey. It's been that thing from like working on my chops and, learning how to perform and learning how to talk to a crowd and, learning about discipline of like finishing songs and learning songs to play. And, but two, like now it's an expression of art to me. And it's just really fun to do a show and to try and take people someplace. And, it doesn't always work and they don't always go.
Sure.
But the journey is the reward for me. It's always fun.
Interesting. So was it like terrifying in the beginning as you were staring down the barrel of those first few gigs?
I don't remember being terrified.
Okay.
I remember being keenly aware of flubs.
Yeah.
And learning the lessons of, it's just you. There's no place to hide.
Right.
So you got to pick material. You got to pick material that you can do, and commit to it, and not fill time. You really, that was the lesson there. It wasn't about being terrified, because even when you made a flub and if someone noticed, the world didn't end.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was your first performance ever. You knew how to deal with flubs by the time you did this solo gig for the first time, right? That makes sense.
But the flubs feel a lot bigger when there's nothing else around covering the flub, right?
Yeah.
And so it definitely made me a much more focused musician. Again, it's about repertoire and what suits you, and you can't back off of a mic when you're not quite sure of a part when it's just you, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's all that type of stuff. So it is still, and it's great. Now it feels like an expression of art, but you still learn something every time you do it. You learn something about sound, and you learn something about how to read a room and how to entertain in a room. So it's great, and it helps the small band stuff. I think when I do the small band stuff, it's unexpected if I do 3 or 4 or 5 songs in that style, just something different, a little break from the onslaught of a band thing. And again, even with the House Rockers, it's made me a better player and a better bandmate and a better listener and a better entertainer.
It totally makes sense. I remember seeing Arlo Guthrie at this local park, Prescott Park down in Portsmouth, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And it was just him. And obviously not his first time doing a solo show, right? Like this is what he, even at that point in time, had been doing for decades, and I remember watching at the end, he put on a fantastic show, as he always does. And at the end of the show, you know, he said goodnight or whatever, and he walked off stage. And then as we were like packing up our blanket and, you know, collecting the kids were younger or whatever at that point, I looked back on stage and there's Arlo, like, you know, taking his vocal mics off the stands and stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah. He's just going to get in his car and drive the 2 hours home after this. He's not staying in Portsmouth tonight either. He's going to, he's going to GTFO. Yeah.
It is a work, but it is a super interesting artistic expression.
Yeah.
And I think back about it, all of my favorite musicians have this in their bag. Like I love like James Taylor, singer-songwriters who kind of do this for a living and do this as their main jig. But you know, when rockers do an unplugged set or an unexpected version of some of their songs unplugged, MTV Unplugged was, you know, pretty mind-blowing to me, right? That whole format was just so interesting to take these songs that have one style, one life, and hear them reinterpreted in another way. That stuff always turned me on. So I just find it a really pure form of expression and art. So it's just a lot of fun to do.